Let's talk Jinx, a weekly Jinx video we do every Wednesday about anything to do with Jinx, as well as this video acting as a weekly discussion thread on the Jinx subreddit, our League of Jinx. Make sure to go check that out. And for today's topic, we're going to be talking about Jinx and I guess her lack thereof in Teamfight Tactics roster. So before we get into the video, of course, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, follow the Twitch, the Twitter, and let's just jump into the video. First and foremost, there was a tweet, actually, by Riot Magic that said, for an answer to a question, we'll have about 50 champions at launch. We're planning to bring out more champs as time goes on, and we'd love to hear your ideas. And the reason this kind of matters is because I have the PvE account myself, right? So I can get on the PvE and do stuff. I got my hands on the game yesterday once it went live on the PvE. Queue times were insane. It was worth the wait, though. The game was super addicting, more so than I thought, considering I've never played an auto chess. Closest I've gotten is watching August play the Dota auto chess for like the past 5 months. With that being said, because the way this game works, I think I have an idea of why Jinx might have not been in the game yet, but she might be included in the future. And as such, what I want to do with this video is, after I explain some things to you guys, we'll be able to collectively in the comment section or on the thread on the Reddit, be able to give our feedback about what we think Jinx could be and do in the game if she were to be introduced. So to explain this, first and foremost, why maybe she isn't in the game, we first have to go towards what I think, at least, it's kind of opinionated, after trying to talk to August and stuff about it, AoE. In this game, a lot of champions that have AoE abilities are kind of gated, quote unquote, by having to do a lot of single attacking first, either through an item or it's an ability in their kit. Like, for example, there are AD carries like Tristana in the game who, when they last hit something in like League of Legends, right, there's AoE explosion. But she has her E charge as like her one ability in this game besides auto attacking, and even then she has to auto attack a few times before she can throw the charge on somebody and then stack it, blow it up, and then hit nearby, enemy units. Same with Draven, for that matter, and Vayne, which they don't have AoE period, they just have single target damage, and that's why I think they made it into the roster. Lucian, same thing, right? Like, he just has a lot of single target damage. A lot of maybe the more AoE, quote unquote, in their kits champions kind of aren't in the game, is what I'm noticing, like the Twitches, like Jinx and stuff like that, because I think that might be a little bit something that has to be balanced differently for this game. Great example, Aatrox, right? He has that third Q where like he swings it down and it crits and stuff and does damage. He has that in this game. He has to auto attack a few times first before he can do it. The flip side of that coin is also items, right? Like Static Shiv and stuff are also in this game, and that does AoE damage. But like, for some random reason, like when you first start the game, you get like a random champion on Carousel if you have like a computer like mine, which can't load in the first 15 seconds, so you just automatically get one of those champions and a random item. So I got Static Shiv Ahri to start out, which is actually pretty powerful in the early game. But even then, right, she has to attack a few times before the Static Shiv will actually proc. So that would be my like initial thinking after just, one day of playing a couple dozen games and such, of why maybe Jinx wasn't in the initial release roster. Is because, like, when you think of Jinx, if you're only going to have that one ability, because most champions in this game, by the way, they have like one ability that's like their main ability for fights. Like, you don't control the champions in the fights, you kind of set stuff up and it's kind of like automatic. It's automatic chess, auto chess, right? So you have a team or something that have their abilities or their synergies and stuff, and then they go into battle and they battle the enemy team, whoever you're going against, and it's great because it's also really chill. And I'll get into that later, but that means Jinx wouldn't have access to her full kit. So you would really have to think of what's like the most iconic ability Jinx has that she would use. Similar like how Varus, he auto attacks a bit and then he uses his Q, which can hit through multiple people, and there you go. Lissandra and Leona, for example, use their ultimates. They have stuns, they have synergies like that. Certain champions are divided into several classes. AD carries tend to be both, or just at least a ranger or a gunslinger, but some people like Varus or like demons and stuff like that. There's all these kind of subclasses that aren't in League. So that's part of the reason also why she maybe didn't get in the game initially, is because first you have to figure out, what do you do for Jinx? Do you go the Super Mega Death Rocket? Do you go the Flame Chompers or Zap? Or do you go her Q and the ability to switch to the rocket launcher? Like, maybe, and I was talking about this with Dat Crunch actually over on Twitter, maybe what happens is you start with the minigun, you have to fire it a few times before you can switch to your rockets and then use the rocket AoE damage. That way it would be gated the same way most other AoE abilities are gated, but you can still use her iconic rockets, because when you think of Jinx, one of the things you think of is rockets. The Super Mega Death Rocket even, like, is a rocket, right? Like, rockets are probably the direction you might go with Jinx. Or the other thing you do is you just have that minigun be super powerful. Like, her thing is that she's the fastest DPS in the game, but it's going to be shorter range because the minigun is in fact, shorter range. So the rockets would provide you more range, and you could also build things like rapid fire cannon on Jinx then. That way her minigun could feel a little bit extra range too. And maybe that's the direction you go with someone like Jinx in this game, and you go for the Q instead of like the ultimate or something like that. Because even if you went for the ultimate, Jinx would have to auto attack, and most of the other AD carries we mentioned, even though they do something else with their auto attacks, like a Vayne with their silver bolts, Draven with the spinning axes, or Tristana with the E, ultimately they still have like the same auto attack for whatever they do. Even when they not really upgrade to that ability, but use that ability, it's still just auto attacking. With Jinx, you'd have to wonder, like, do you use the rocket launcher, or even if you go for the ultimate for an ability, do you just stick with the minigun? And maybe you do, right? Like I said, maybe that's the more balanced way to approach it. Give her that faster attack speed with the minigun, and give her ultimate as her ability, which obviously won't be able to kill anybody unless they're low health. And then you don't have to really juggle around with that, you know, AoE quote-unquote problem. Like I said, when I tried to talk to August about this, I'm not saying this is the reason why, because his answer was kind of like, you know, why would that be a thing? Or maybe that seems to be a thing, but it wasn't on purpose, right? So then, furthermore, let me briefly explain classes to help you maybe give your answer. So first and foremost, like I kind of mentioned, there are things like gunslingers and rangers for mostly AD carries, but there are all kinds of different classes in the game. Like for some, there's Yordle. If you're a Yordle, you're a Yordle class. There's demon, there's nobles, there's knights, there's guardians, like Braum and Leona are guardians. And the thing about that, what makes that important, is you build synergies by combining multiple people from different classes. Like if you have multiple champions from the Fjord, like let's say you have Lissandra, Braum, and Ashe, or Sejuani especially, then suddenly by having at least 3 or more of like what's called glacial classes of people, your team has more chance to stun the enemy team while you're in combat. So as an example, if you have like Lissandra already on your team, you have a bunch of glacials, you'll be able to stun with more than just her ultimate. It's pretty great in a team fight. If you have like multiple Yordles in your team, as another example, there's like beyond 3, higher chance of attacks just missing your units completely and just going the whole fight, basically taking like no damage. And it's actually ridiculous in how I lost one of my games. I was like, oh, this is really bad, actually. I don't have anything to deal with this. So that being said, right, like you have multiple assassins that do more damage, you have multiple of different groups, there's like different buffs, and that's why you want to kind of construct that. But it is kind of random when you get your champions at the bottom. You either choose to save the gold to increase interest, which means you get more gold passively per turn, or you can spend it to level up items so you can have more units on the field. You start with 1, and like the first couple stages is PvE against minions, just to get you kind of familiar about how it works. So in which case you get up to 3 basically units you can use for free, and then you can start leveling up for 4, 5, up to I believe 9 is the max. Or you could actually just go for like higher, you know, priced units. Because one of the things is, if you have like, let's say Tristana, and you get 2 more Tristanas, they combine into like a 2-star stronger Tristana. And then if you get 3 more, they combine to a 3-star, even stronger Tristana. And I just learned about 3-star before making this video. Probably explains why I lost almost every like game I played yesterday, with people having units clad in gold and stuff. And it was kind of fun, also ridiculous, and also it was just great. So with Jinx, with that being said, that means you could combine multiple Jinxes if you see them at the bottom, make a 2-star, 3-star Jinx, and she'll be super powerful. So again, like that's what I'm saying. I'm trying to explain this somewhat broadly but quickly, so this video isn't too long, of course. But that's the reasons that I think Jinx may have missed the starting roster. But why I think, based off the tweet, like I said, from Sat Magic, we could give some valuable feedback about, you know, if Jinx was in the game, what direction do you think she could benefit from being in this game, even if you don't have PvE access? That's kind of why I also wanted to make this video too, because some of y'all maybe don't have access to the PvE, but you kind of want to be in on the conversation and stuff. So I wanted to make a video like this, so that way you can be on the subreddit and stuff and be like, hey, cool, we get to kind of partake in the conversation, at least around Jinx, despite not having a PvE. Hopefully this kind of fulfills that a little bit. Again, so a quick rundown. AoE maybe is kind of a thing they purposely gated by having to do multiple abilities. So if you go with the Q and the rocket launcher, maybe go in something like that direction. Or maybe you go with the direction of, hey, it's just minigun, you can't use the rocket launcher, right? Like I said, all champions only really use like 1 ability, at least at level when they're like 1-star anyways, right? You don't get to use actually a lot or all of your abilities. It's not like you mash all of them. Darius, as another example, he uses his Q, which is an AoE ability. He can heal off of it. If he's in the middle of the enemy team, it's great, but he doesn't start off with the Q. The only person off the top of my head that starts off with one of their abilities is Blitzcrank. If you have a Blitzcrank, he will hook like the back line of the enemy and bring them to you. So if they build a comp around like protecting an Ashe, he'll just pick the Ashe back to you guys, and then you can just kill the Ashe right on your side of the field. Same with assassins in general. Assassins automatically jump to the back line and then try and assassinate your back line. So if they're back there seemingly protected, your Zed, your Kha'Zix, your Rengar, instantly, as soon as a game starts, they just go to the back line and start attacking them. Draven might be one of the most powerful AD carries in the game right now. He can crit for over 1,000 damage, which is actually kind of ludicrous. They might actually have to nerf him. So that being said, that might be why Jinx, and maybe even some other AD carries haven't made it in, right? Like Jhin is another big one we've been talking about on the not August subreddit, but the August Discord, as a matter of fact. Shout out to all the Jhin mains and people that watch my videos too. They've asked me to make videos in the past, for example, and it's been pretty fun because y'all are actually really chill. And you know, sometimes when you're having a bad day and you come across 3 different Jhin mains who just make memes and do funny stuff and turn your whole mood around without them even knowing you're in a bad mood, that's pretty great. So I'm also going to say I'm going to make a video about this for Jhin too, because he's kind of in the same boat a little bit, also as a fellow August champion, but I think he's a little bit different and deserves his own video. Obviously, this is a Let's Talk Jinx video, so we're going to finish off with Jinx, and that's basically it though. You know, what do you think about Teamfight Tactics and what Jinx's place could be? I personally am leaning towards maybe you might not, as much as I love Fishbones, maybe you go for the minigun specifically and just make Jinx like the highest auto-attacking speed champion in the game, and her ability is then like the super mega death rocket, which again, its balance would be, it would only work if it, I mean, she could fire it early, people fire it early on the Rift after all, but like it wouldn't do damage really unless it was fired at a low health target. So what most champions tend to do when they have an ability like that or something, it's like gated by auto attacks, or they wait a certain bit. Like Lissandra doesn't usually insta ult at the beginning of a fight, it's usually after getting jumped and stuff. Kennen the same way, he usually doesn't ult immediately, he ults after the team fight started, and maybe he's got time to position himself into the enemy team, or the enemy team's like jumped him and he like shocks him with his ultimate. So maybe like the Jinx unit, that's how that would work. The ultimate wouldn't fly out until she's auto attacked a couple times. That could maybe be what and what, because then we're talking about the minigun, so it would be faster auto attacks. But like there are tanks and stuff. If you have 3 elementalists, which are 3 like element type champions, you summon this giant golem, so it's not like you don't need DPS in this game. So I don't know, like we'll see. That might be how I would start. I've also mentioned how some other people might start. Maybe hopefully I've explained things well enough. So in the comment section down below, let's have a conversation about this. But thank you so much for watching this video. Again, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Hit that bell notification, the actual subscribe button. But I don't know which video will be next, because life can have a lot of kinks. So until next time, take care. GG, get jinxed. Thank you for watching, and enjoy pizza responsibly.